Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial and Mom. And in today's video, we are back to recap Love After Lockup Season 3, Episode 13. Put a sweater on and chill. I thought that was funny. So now, let's get into the review. So we are picking up with Jessica and Maurice. I guess Maurice was approved for a monthly travel pass. I've never heard that before.
Well, we've never been in that situation, so we wouldn't know. But I'm happy that he got approved because remember, he was going to break parole just to come out here.
He did.
Well, that's true. I'm like, so you couldn't wait a little bit, so hopefully, he'll do right by going back and forth like he's supposed to.
Well, he don't really want to stay in Cali, so I think he's going to. And then, he's all happy, he's excited, he's jumping on the bed, doing all this stuff. Jessica's just like, oh, by the way, I'm 3 weeks late.
Yeah.
He's like, oh. Okay, cool. He's excited. He thinks they're going to have another child. Now, when viewers told us this a couple weeks ago when the episode was ending, I was like, no, impossible.
Why?
Because they're not ready. Well, to me, they're not ready. Even Jessica said that they're not ready. They only been out in the real world for a month.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Like what? I mean, it only takes one time. And, from the episodes previously, Shady Production, when he got out of prison, the first thing they did was go to the room to get it in.
So you think this was probably planned?
No, but it only takes one time.
Well, Maurice is excited either way because he thinks that it's going to be another chance for him to actually be with this child from birth and see all the milestones because he wasn't able to do that with this first child. So I'm like, okay, well... maybe I'll be on board for this time.
Well, regardless if you're on board or not, that's their baby. And, hopefully she has a healthy baby. And I'm glad that he's excited to have another child, even if it's less time that they've been together. This is the first time he's got to see the baby, like from, when it's been conception all the way through. So hopefully they last and he gets to see that.
Yeah, but one thing that I thought was interesting, I don't know why, but I just did, that they both said in their confessional is they're worried about him mostly maintaining a job, being stable. But I'm like, Jessica, your family's gonna help you through this. Even though she says she's worried about her family not supporting her, they're gonna support her. So now we see Destiny and Shawn. It picks up where she was, putting her hands on him. He just goes off to work because he has enough of it. But he's like hoping, I hope she doesn't break up with me when she leaves because she keeps threatening to say, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to go back to California. But I don't think Destiny is going to go anywhere because she likes living in Las Vegas. And Shawn has a little bit more cash, even though I don't think he has that much, as he said.
With Destiny putting his hands on Shawn, that was so out of line. I mean, first of all, you shouldn't put your hands on anybody, but you're really going to be mad because his kid's mom called him to talk about the kids?
Well, I also think that Destiny probably has the intuition that something else is going on besides them talking about the kids, which she would be true if that's what she's worried about. So when he's talking to his friend at work, Hector, Hector was like, just let her leave.
Yeah.
Call her bluff. I mean, she crazy, crazier than the last one. You should just let her leave. Like, you already know.
Exactly. I said that last season, like, call her bluff. Like, when it was at the bar and stuff and she was drinking and stuff, call her bluff. But at the same time, he can't call her bluff because it's money on the line. It's a whole lot of things he invested on the line with Destiny. And he still wants to marry her.
In another scene where we see Destiny talking to her sister, I believe. The sister was like, just come on back to California. You got a family out here. We're going to take care of you. And Destiny's just on the phone with her like, oh, I'm crazy. He don't know how crazy I am. I am with it. Like, why is he even talking to his baby mom? That's just disrespectful. I'm too young. I don't have time for this. I'm trying to, live my best life. And he's just putting a damper on it.
I just couldn't believe that whole situation. And her sister co-signed that too. Okay, so yeah, he lied to you about how many kids he had. But you was running a scam too in prison about what you wanted from him. But, okay, if your family's going to take care of you, then how come they didn't put up the money for you to get out?
But when Shawn later on comes back from work, hoping that Destiny is there, that of course is where WeTV wants to cut it off, and we have to wait till next week to see if she's there. And we already know she's there. She's not going nowhere.
You think so?
She's not going nowhere no time soon.
So we're back to Scott and Lindsay, and you know what? It seems like their relationship is still on the shaky side because Scott didn't have their house together the way Lindsay wanted it, and those magazines she sent, those clippings, that house didn't look nothing like that. So apparently Scott is on the couch.
You know what I think is so funny? Because Lindsay looks at Scott. I don't know if she's mad or that's how she looks all the time. Just so aggressive. Like when she was showing the ankle bracelet. And he was like, oh, can I just slip off and slip on whenever you want? She's like, yeah, if I did, I can go to Walmart. I'm like, calm down.
Well, let's clarify. It's not an ankle bracelet like we would wear. It's an ankle monitor. But I think Lindsay, she may really want to cut that thing off. I mean, she's leaning towards that to me. I'm getting that vibe.
No, she's not going to do that because she really wants to see her daughter because she can't see her right now because of the 14-day quarantine and the ankle monitor / bracelet or whatever they want to call it. So I don't think she's going to jeopardize that because Scott had that little treat set up for her. Not really a treat, just something special for her.
Yeah.
He said it was for her, so she can get back on his good graces and maybe he can get some boom boom later.
Oh yeah, he's trying to get back in the bed.
I'm like, is that the only reason why you did it, Scott? Because
yes.
I know, but it was such a nice scene between them two, and I just didn't really like that. That was the underlying message / tone / whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's always been the message because when we first met Scott, he said, how many other 50-year-old men have a young lady? You remember that? So Scott thinks he's the greatest thing to Lindsay. But when the meetup came and Lindsay got to see her daughter through that glass, Miley Grace was so happy to see her mom, and I just hope that Lindsay stays on the right path where she doesn't disappoint her daughter because even Lindsay said that, she hasn't spent a lot of time with her daughter. Like, she's been gone for a few years, but her mom said half her life. So, and she's only, 9 or 10, so half her life, that's a lot that you missed out on. And she's still growing, and for her to be, 9 or 10 now, like, she needs the direction of her mom. Grandma's fine, but her mom would be better. And then when the scene wrapped up, the daughter was like, well, I have to go. Because the grandma was like, well, we got to go in a little bit. I actually felt sorry for them both. I was like, oh. But, Lindsay was like, well, you'll be able to come in and see your room real soon. I'm like, is it the room or is it the garage? Because last episode, it was the garage. And one of the things that we saw with Scott, a touching thing, was we saw a tattoo. And it was a tattoo in memory of his son who passed away. No, I thought that was nice.
I thought it was nice, too. But first, when he was in a confessional, he was just taking off his shirt. I was like, what is going on?
Well, still, we saw the tribute to his son, the fist bump that they give, and the first car Audi. We even saw pictures of him, so that was really nice. So Scott does have a softer side to him. So today we see Quail and Chevelle. They are on the way to meet the pastor who has been pastoring Chevelle for many, many years.
Is that a word, pastor?
Yes, it is. On the way, I thought, they seemed like they were in a good mood when they got there. That's what I thought. But clearly there's been some things underlying that we're going to see as time goes on, I am sure. So we get to the church and everyone walks in. How you doing? How you doing? Oh, how you been treating her? I've been knowing her since she was a real little girl. Quaylen's like, oh, okay. Cool. Everything was like, cool. So Chevelle takes her daughter to the kids' room while Quail and the pastor talk. And we find out, if you didn't know, Quaylen's been in prison for 12 years. And the pastor's like, yeah, man, it's been a long time. He's like, yeah, it has. So how are things going? And you know what? It turns out that Quaylen is having a hard time. He feels overwhelmed. Now, I thought we mentioned that before.
We did. We mentioned that before earlier. And his mom mentioned it. And his sister mentioned it. And some people from Chevelle's family mentioned it. It's something that we all knew was going to happen, but it felt like that Chevelle and Quaylen both were kind of in denial because they wanted to be together for each other. He wanted to be a little family with them. But we all knew that it's been 12 years. His family doesn't live there anymore. We found out that his mom, he believes, is his biggest supporter, and his family is a support system, and they're all in Texas. So now he's like, caught in a rock and a hard place. He wants to be with Chevelle. He says that he's in love with Chevelle, but at the same time, he needs his me time. He needs to be with people who support him because he already knows Chevelle's family's not here for him. Ever since that welcome home party, it's all went basically downhill and south for him in his mind. Maybe for Chevelle, it was okay because, you know, she bought him the car, try to make him seem like, you know, as a part of the family, or try to keep him, some people might say. But it's not working for Quail, and we already knew that was going to happen.
Well, you know, you just threw it all out there. I was trying to bring everybody around to the story, but that's exactly what happened. I think that welcome home party, I think Quail knew that he was overwhelmed when he got out of prison and the first night in the hotel, you know, because she was like, you know, of course, they had their romantic time. But just the questions after that, like, so when we getting married? When we going to do this? When we going to do that? He's like, slow down. We have time. And Chevelle didn't like that. So whatever we missed in between then and now is an underlying issue and is really playing out in that part. And I was surprised for Quail to say that his mom was his biggest supporter, because I believe Miss Quilandria asked him, well, her or me, pretty much. He's like, well, both of y'all. And I was like, no. It's not like that. And I think,
well, of course, because you're mom and you would think that.
True. But at the same time, I think Quail is trying to do the right thing. I mean, I think he said that. He's trying to do the right thing. But he is missing his family in Texas. And I think that Chevelle is putting a lot of pressure on off the camera that we're not seeing. Because
she is. We don't even have to see it off camera. We saw it on camera when Chevelle and his mom were going up to the prison to pick him up, and Chevelle was dead set on, oh no, he's staying with me, and that's that.
Yeah. So after the church, they get in the car, and Quail is just on his phone, and he's just looking through it, whatever he's doing, and Chevelle is talking, whatever she's saying, like trying to get him to have conversation, and it just came down to, put a sweater on and chill, Chevelle.
He didn't want to talk. He said he wasn't in the mood. She was like, well, you know, you said you were outgoing on the phone. What happened now? It's like, I can't be quiet and outgoing. And he was like, you know, it's too early, 7 o'clock in the morning, because Chevelle was upset that he didn't say good morning to her. He's like, well, I'm just not a morning person. I want to talk in the morning. I was like, I feel that.
Yeah, but she was like, you know, but you called me from prison at 7 o'clock. Okay, but it was a whole different dynamic now. Like, he's with you every day. Now things are starting to calm down, and you are who you are, and he is who he is. So,
well, he's still trying to find himself. And now we get back to mom's favorite couple, Tyrese and Shonda. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but I recall last season, the first half of the season, Tyrese basically tried to say like he was balling and big pimping. But from the glimpse of the outside of his apartment that we saw, it didn't really look like it to me.
Well, you know what? You really can't judge nobody like that. I mean, you know,
I'm not judging. I'm just going off of what he said.
That's true. He did say that. But I mean, you know, we don't live in Chicago, so we don't know what things look like. And then, you know, we're not too far off in age. So maybe he's at a point in his life, you know, like me, like you have some money saved up, but you don't have to live all grandiose anymore because your kids are grown and out the house,
well,
pretty much.
Someone said they're grandiose, then I expect grandioseness in the apartment. So Tyrese is calling Shonda. I guess it's going to voicemail. He lets us know that he called her, he texted her, he emailed her, checked up on her social media. No call, no answer, just nothing. So he's just like, you know, maybe she's back in jail. Maybe something happened to her. We'll roll with that. We'll roll with the maybe. So later on, when his daughter Tyresha comes over, she was like, so when's the last time did you talk to her? He was like, oh, since, you know, the last time she came out. She was like, that was a long time ago. So I'm like, okay, how long is a long time?
Right.
Is it 2 weeks? Maybe a month? But Tyrese says 2 months. I'm like, now.
2 months? You've been calling, texting, emailing for 2 months? I mean, most people, maybe you might do a couple days. But after that, I'm not calling text. You see your missed call, your text or email, if you're not in prison or if you have access to it. And if you do have access to it, she's not trying to talk to you.
So Tyresha says, you know, it kind of sounds like she was using you. He's like, she would never do that to me. We had a connection. We were vibing. Tyresha was like, well, how much money did you put on your book? And Tyresha was like, well, how much money did you put on your books? He was like, what is $5-10? I was like, you know what $5-10 is? A lie. Because nobody is going to keep contacting you and you're only putting $5-10 on their books. What can they get with $5-10?
$5-10 is like tooth fairy money. $5-10 on a commissary, and I'm not saying how I know, is nothing, because what you gonna do? What's an adult gonna do with $5-10?
In the prison. Anywhere.
Right.
Now. Outside. So he said, impossible. She's not doing this to me. We have a connection. We're vibing. And Tyresha was like, you know what? Maybe she ghosted you. He was like, ghosted? What's ghosted?
Now he need to stop.
He do. Because I'm like, how are you going to mess with somebody your daughter's age and you don't even know the lingo? Do you know the lingo?
I do know the lingo. I know what ghosted means. He know what it means to ghosted, whack, crib. That was our generation that came up with those words. So he knows ghosted means gone. He just doesn't want to acknowledge, just like doesn't want to acknowledge that she may be using him when his son said it to him or his cousin said it. Tyrese is under the assumption like this is the one, and we all know it's not. So now we have Dillon and Heather. And you know what? We should have listened to Dillon or had a little something going on, because Dillon tried to explain what Heather's personality was like.
Well, it's not like we didn't listen. We just didn't have any scenes to go off of. But now we do. And we saw in this episode.
So they're on their way home from the prison, and it turns out Heather has to stay with her aunts temporarily because her apartment flooded 2 weeks prior to Dillon coming home. So in confessional, Dillon explains that her aunt's house is going to be the parole house. And it's something that he has to do for 2 years to be checked up on. They're going to call anytime, show up anytime. And he really hopes that, they can all get along with that and are inviting up the parole officer, because he knows that it's going to be, a difference.
Hectic and crazy, and it shouldn't even be happening for 2 more years. He just got out, but I digress.
When they walk in, I forgot one's name, but the older one, probably the great aunt, Miss Diane, she was there to greet too. And it turns out Miss Diane likes her some younger men.
And Heather was like, don't be batting eyelashes at my aunts. He was like, okay, I won't. So that is when she goes off to the bathroom. Just for a little bit.
Yeah, but did you notice the door was open?
I did not notice that the door was open until you said something.
Yeah, so Dillon is sitting there, having a conversation with the aunts. They're welcoming him. They're saying how, we're going to spoil you just like we spoil Heather. And, if I like younger men or talk to you, Heather get over it, because she always has to get over it, right? And then, they show pictures of family and just different little things. And all of a sudden, Heather peeks her head out the door.
Before she peeks her head out the door, did you also catch that her aunts were like, Heather might get a little mad about us having this conversation? I think that's probably what she heard, since the door was open.
But get mad about what? I mean, they're just showing, him.
We didn't know yet. They were just alluding to why Heather would get mad. We don't know Heather's personality. It's just slowly showing.
So when Heather comes out the bathroom, she's like, what are you talking about? Pretty much. And she's like, you know what? I don't feel good. I need to lay down. And all three of them are like, okay. Go lay down. I'm comfortable here. That's fine. She's like, no, you don't understand. I need to lay down.
We're like, okay, Heather, go lay down. Why are you still saying this? But Dillon, a.k.a. Dillon, I don't know why, I just thought of the Chappelle show. He wants to go with Heather. I want to go with you. Make sure you're okay. She's like, no, you just stay here with my aunts, because it just seems like you're just having a great time with them. I'm like, but what is he supposed to be doing? You left him out there so you can go to the bathroom. Was he just not supposed to have any conversation or make eye contact with them?
Exactly. And you also try to make friends with people who's letting you stay there on behalf of your parole.
Right.
But clearly Heather doesn't see it that way. So when Dillon gets up to join her, she's like, no, you're my man. You shouldn't be out there talking. I'm like, are you for real, Heather?
Not even out there talking. You're spending more time with them, and you shouldn't be spending more time with my aunts or even more time than you are with me. I've been waiting for you for 5 years. I'm like, Heather, calm down.
Right. You were just in the bathroom. Calm down. Now, are you going to lay down or are you not going to lay down? Well, Heather doesn't lay down. Heather decides they're going to pack up some stuff, I guess, to go to a hotel because she still wants to have sex with him and just to get out the house because she's upset with her aunts for making Dillon feel welcome.
I feel bad for Miss Diane because she was like, I'm not going to have this aggravation.
Exactly.
In this house. And Heather already said when they were driving that, you know, her aunt is older and ill. So you're going to cause all this stress on your older and ill aunt because you think she's trying to push up on him and Dillon is spending more time or even more than with you when you only just went to the bathroom?
Exactly. Well, Miss Diane weren't having it either. You know, she was like, I'm not going to get aggravated. I'm not going to the hospital behind you, Heather. And Heather's like, are you for real? Like, what do you mean? Like, first of all, Heather, this came out of left field. Did nobody see this coming? You've been in the house all of 7 minutes. And that's being generous. And even in the car, when they left, Dillon's like, what was that about? Like, I'm just trying to get to know everybody.
Before they even left, Dillon was already explaining to them, you know, we're going to leave.
Right.
We're going to be back. I don't know when, but
In a couple
maybe a
days.
few days.
Right.
We'll be back. If my PO shows up, don't worry about it. I got this. Dillon was being very gracious. And Dillon, he's just like, well, he already knew what's up. But now that he's seeing firsthand what's up, I don't know if Dillon's gonna be here for this because she's already got in the car with them. She's mad. She can't do it with her aunt because her aunt's basically calling her out and saying, I'm not about to have this with you in my house. She takes off speeding, going to God knows where.
Right.
Like, Heather, this is a mess. All right, so that was the end of this week's episode. And I think it was a good episode. It was actually picking up. I am very interested to see more of Heather and Dillon because we should have knew from her Chinese, Arabic, what else she had on her mouth?
I don't know the other ones, but
That all say Dillon's name. That she might have been a little bit crazy.
Dillon tried to tell us, but well, I guess we'll see. Yes, the episode did pick up. I'm looking forward to Heather, Chevelle, and Quail and
Tyrese?
No. And everybody else in general, but those two for sure because they seem like they're gonna bring the noise.
Thank you all so much for watching this week's episode of Love After Lockup. Make sure you leave us a comment down below to let us know what you thought about all the mess that happened in this week's episode. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and all that good stuff.
Thank you all for watching, and as always, live simply, be grateful.